What is going on with everybody tonight? It's episode 35 of Tone Talk with Dave Friedman and Mark Uzansky. And tonight we have got the gristle glorious Greg Koch. How are you?
I am so good.
Now you guys worked that intro out, didn't you?
I did. I worked it out. I had it written down right here.
Gristle glorious.
Glorious.
I was looking up what gristle meant earlier, and
well, my story changes.
I found it interesting, as I was reading it, because it had that element of the dual playing, so it's kind of like feeding off somebody else as part of that definition. So I wasn't aware of that. So,
well, gristle kind of came to be as a description for pretty much anything. Years ago, I had a house gig at this place in Milwaukee called the Up and Under Pub, a place of untold debauchery and nocturnal depravity. And after we would get done playing at this establishment, we would adjourn to a local feasting establishment called Ma Fisher's. Ooh. And in a, shall we say, altered state in this late evening bacchanal, a food fight started to take place, and some gristle was used as some ammunition. And at some point, I began screaming at the top of my lungs, "Pound the gristle!" And then this became, kind of a battle cry, which would be like, "Hey, right before we went on stage, let's go pound the gristle," or "Hey, you going home tonight with the old lady, and are you going to pound the gristle?" Or "Hey, if I want a little bit more gain in my guitar, give me some gristle." It just became, kind of an all-inclusive foulness that has lasted all this time.
Nice.
Really, I'm a child, really, if we're honest. So,
and now it's in our vocabulary. Thank
yes.
Yep. Gristle glorious. I don't know. I wanted something to rhyme with Greg. So
I like what you did there, Mark. I thought it was very, 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 very germane to our activities.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
Big words.
SAT words. So how are you, man? I appreciate you coming on the show. I know you've been doing a lot of traveling, as has Dave, I.
We were discussing that prior to us going live.
Yeah.
Yes. We were discussing how I need a vacation from my travels.
Yes.
It's like 2 weeks of clinics, and then we get to do 2 more weeks of clinics,
which are fun, but
it's a lot of driving.
Yes.
It's a lot of I skipped my our sales guy did all the driving in New York, though.
Oh, okay.
So I saved myself just a heart attack, probably.
Yes. You were spared that nightmare.
In the city, you mean?
Well, sort of, because I had to actually be in the car while he was driving in New York, and he's from New York, so he understands the rules of the road. Or actually, there's no rules of the road there.
Right.
I've basically, if you can get through the hole between 2 cars, go for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't think actually anyone would actually get anywhere in New York if they didn't violate like 5 traffic violations in every block.
Exactly.
But there's no cop to give you a ticket when you're in New York, really. So
it's a free for all.
Yeah, it really is.
It is pretty much a free for all, and you fear for your life when you're driving in a car with an aggressive New York driver, which we had.
Nice. That's what I am.
And he made an observation that's great. He goes, horns here aren't really like horns anywhere else. Horns here are like sonar. It's like sonar. It's a constant honk, so they can feel where they are.
That's kind of true.
It's true.
It is. That's funny.
So yeah, we did a bunch of clinics, and those were fun.
And those were with Sammy Bowler for most.
Sammy Bowler, and then the last 2 with Steve Stevens and Sammy Bowler.
Aha.
And so we went to Guitar Riot in Cleveland, Ohio, which is a very cool boutique store, awesome store. We went to End Stuff Music in Pittsburgh. which is another really cool store. It used to be pianos and stuff. If you wonder where the name,
I've been to pianos and stuff.
If you wonder where the name came from, but now it's just kind of shortened.
And stuff. That's great.
Yeah, it's end stuff. I was wondering, why is it end stuff? Oh,
Pianos and stuff.
Been there forever. Did a little video there, and did. We went to a friend of mine studio in Thornton, PA, for a day of doing some videos with him.
Yes.
And then we moved on to Chuck Levin's Washington Music.
Yes.
And where do we go from there? We went to, Sam Ash, New York, Brooklyn.
So you guys were skipping around a little bit.
And then we went to Matt's Music in somewhere.
Yeah.
Did you say that Sam Ash
Near
was in
Boston.
Brooklyn?
Yeah. Sam Ash in Brooklyn.
Oh, I thought it was Sam Ash in Manhattan.
Or maybe it was Manhattan. I could be wrong.
It's there.
Yeah, I think it was Sam Ash in Manhattan.
It's city, lots of buildings. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's interesting with the clinic patrol lately is that oftentimes they have the in-store event in the evening, but they want some kind of video content earlier in the day.
Yes.
So you'll do a little grip and grin in the evening, and then earlier.
We did a few of those. Yeah, so we went from the PA one, which is Matt's Music, which was great, and that was a good clinic also. They're another good high-end store. And then we drove from Boston area to Chicago.
Oh, Jesus. Yes.
14 hours.
Yes. That was a bonding moment with you and your compatriots in that vehicle, I would imagine.
Yeah. We you know what? We took off the evening after the clinic and drove for like 3 hours just to get a little bit of headway into the drive, and then stayed in Albany, New York.
Yes.
Not much going on there, other than governmental things.
Activity.
And then took off and spent the next day and a half driving the rest of the way.
Good Lord.
But
that's bold.
To Chicago Music, one of the coolest stores.
That is a great
ever.
store.
Oh, Chicago Music Exchange.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Big ass store too.
A cavernous establishment.
Big ass store where we proceeded to play a couple of Rick Nielsen guitars or see them that they had stored there, and
nice,
some great instruments, and we did a nice clinic, did some video stuff, and then we moved on to Motor City Guitar.
Oh yeah,
in my hometown
of Detroit Rock City,
where by far the best turnout of any of the clinics. I think there was probably close to 100 people.
Excellent.
And for a clinic,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So
they have enough seats.
And then home. And
home again.
I leave 5 days from now, and I'll be gone again. So, people, if you're trying to contact me, I'll be gone again. but I will be answering your emails.
Of course.
What's your agenda out in Europe? You're hitting different countries.
I got to look at the schedule. We're going to Thomann Music.
Oh yes.
To the city of Thomann, or whatever the city it's in.
It's near pretty much Bamberg.
It's pretty much their town, from what I understand, at least.
Yes, in Bavaria. Bavaria.
I think we're going to visit Henning Pauly while we're out there.
Oh yeah, Henning, he's a good lad.
We're going to. There's a bunch of other dealers, and forgive me because I don't know all of them. I know we do a show at Music Productive for 3 days.
Yep, I've been there.
That they got their big music show.
Oh, wow. In Ibn Buren.
Yes, and there's some other stores in Germany, and then we move on to England, and we're parked there for a while doing Peach and Guitar, and a few others.
Yes,
so
should be fun.
Yes, unfortunately, the Europe is the drinking tour.
Oh yes, well.
because Well, it's Germany and England.
Yeah,
Why not?
It's no, sure, it's the beer connoisseur tour.
Yes,
That's what we should. That's what we should call this one.
Well, the last one was tubes and what was it called? Blood and tubes or something.
Yeah, I have to read my own. Sorry, my brain is fried from these 2 weeks. Literally, people are looking at me today, and I'm just like, blah, 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 huh?
That was blood and tubes. I thought that's what it was. Something
That sounds like some kind of colon complaint.
Blood, sweat, and tubes. I think
blood, sweat, and tubes. That's what it was. Yes, there you go.
Blood,
and,
all right. Well, yeah, the beer connoisseur tour is pretty good too.
The beer connoisseur tour. Beer. Yeah, I don't know. I'll come work on that name.
So, Greg, you were also traveling. Also, tell us about your recent travels because it sounded like it was pretty much back and forth.
Oh, I got to remember what the hell I did. Well, last week I was out in Colorado for my my monthly sojourn to Wildwood Guitars, and
doing some videos.
Yes, indeed. I fly in on a Monday morning, and I begin to pummel for 4 days straight. And I usually do a recording session out there as well. I did that on Wednesday evening. So I do 3 days of videos, or no, 4 days of videos, usually a session in there at some point, and then I go home on Thursday night. And then, I don't know, what the hell did I do? I can't remember. Oh, we had... My youngest son had a shindig here on Friday, so we had to make sure that they weren't, getting too crazy. And then the week prior to that, I was in Montreal area. Speaking of heinous traffic, I love Montreal, but the traffic up there for some reason is just, it's a little crazy. But I went up there and did a bunch of Fishman they were Fishman events, although the Fishman distributors up there are also the Martin distributors. And so I've been doing some Martin stuff too as of late. But so these, I start off with an acoustic and I treat that like a farm animal for about 5 songs. And then I grab a Telly and a Strat and a Les Paul that are outfitted with these Fishman Fluence pickups that I've helped them kind of come up with, and voice and so on and so forth. And then I wang dang doodle that stuff, and then grip and grin, and then go out and get some poutine. I got to tell you, poutine is delicious. People say, "What is poutine?" And I say, "Well,
poutine can be lots of ways, but
I've never had it."
Well, we were in Drummondville one night, which apparently is one of the towns where it's disputed that it was created. Apparently, the initial genesis, if you will, of this savory roadside fare is that there were these truck drivers that would go through and they'd stop at this cheese factory and get these cheese curds. And then a few miles up the road, they'd stop at this diner and get these French fries. And so the truckers would take the cheese curds and dump them into the fries in the bag and shake them up and feast. And then at one place, they asked one place to put gravy, brown gravy over the top. So then that became the thing. One place said, "We'll make the whole thing for you." So it's cheese curds, French fries, and a brown gravy. Well, now there are all these different permutations. And when you're in Montreal, for some reason I didn't know this, but they have what's called smoked meat up there, which is their version of pastrami, slightly different seasoning and a little bit more lean. And so I had a smoked meat iteration of poutine, and I got to tell you, I had to walk about 10,000 extra steps that day to mitigate the carnage.
Yeah, there was some sort of poutine that we had in one restaurant somewhere on our trip here, and it was something like pulled pork something, with cheese and gravy. It was good. Let's just say it was good.
It's a very delicious thing, but it also makes you question your circulatory system and the soundness of it for the next 48 hours. Am I going to pull through as a result of eating this poutine?
Yeah, right.
Luckily to say that didn't seem to be an issue. But it was delish. So we had fun up in Canada. I think the week before that, I did some stuff around this area. Did something down in Chicago at a place called Tobias Music, more of an acoustic shop. That was a lot of fun, actually. They had a nice venue attached to the music store, a big acoustic dealer.
Mhm.
I did some stuff up here a week before. I don't know. It's been pretty non-stop. But luckily I'm home this week. I got a gig up in Madison area on Thursday night with my buddy Jimmy Vagley's band. Next week I go out east, and I'm doing a couple things with Ken Haas from Reverend Guitars. And I have a Reverend signature guitar coming out in January. And Ken and I have been doing some interesting web folderol called the Ken and Greg Show, in which we grab various Reverend incarnations and flog them into submission, into a frothing ooze. And people say, the kids seem to dig it. So we're going to take our show on the road. We're going to be at Monster Music. And then I think we're going to be in I think where else we're going to be. Nazo Music, maybe? I can't remember. My brain is a little on the fried ski side. But next week, Wednesday. Oh, no. Let's see. We're going to be at Asbury Park Guitars. Where's that? Where's that? You know what? It's gone. It flew in.
So basically, you and I right now are like about the same. Like we're just, the brains are gone.
Yes. You know, it's you got to do what you got to do. You know, you got to go and you got to make the sweet scaloti. I mean, I enjoy it all. I mean, because at this point, I'm paid to be me, which is troubling. But I basically get to go in. I basically just go in. I say whatever I want and play whatever I want, as long as I, don't get naked and do something weird. So everyone seems to be pleased. I have fun doing it. As Dave was alluding to, it's just, it's as we all know, it's just the traveling part that gets a little weird.
So the funny thing about the traveling part is, so we took Sammy Bowler on this trip, who's a young, brilliant guitar player, and he's like, "Oh man, this is the greatest thing ever. This is the greatest touring ever." Because he was coming from touring with, as being an opening rock band,
right?
And it's like, do we have Subway today or Subway today?
Right, exactly.
And can we have it more than once?
Exactly.
Or do we have enough money to get the Subway sandwich today? Do we eat today?
Right.
Exactly. Or are we sleeping in the van next to your 4 other sweaty guys?
Right.
He goes, "What do you mean? I get my own hotel room?"
Exactly. Exactly correct.
I get my own hotel room, and then see, the way we do things is like at least the group, Paul, who is our regional or our national sales manager, and myself are kind of foodies.
Oh yeah.
So the fun is finding the restaurant to go to. You got to find the one that does whatever they do the best in that town.
Right.
And that's the fun. That's the challenge. Sammy's like, "I've never eaten like this in my life."
I just remembered Russo Music. It's where
there you go. You don't want to leave
Russo on Wednesday night, Monster Music on Thursday night. Thank you. Now I feel better. I just was at Russo Music doing a Fishman thing, but now I'm coming back and that's in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
So tell us about your Fishman pickups and also the guitar. Tell us more.
Well, I worked on this Telly set with the Fishman folks, and about 6 years ago, I got called by my buddy Richie Fliegler, who for years, of course, was at Fender, and before that, he was at Marshall. And Richie stopped working for Fender like 2007, and has been doing marketing, mostly not in the MI industry, because apparently he wanted to make money or something. I don't know. And so he's been doing a variety of different other things, but he was always buddies with Richie, or with Larry Fishman. And so Larry had contacted him and said, "Hey, this guy from the aerospace industry approached me about this idea for making electric guitar pickups." And so they started working on this thing, and Richie called me up. I remember I was in the Detroit airport. I was heading over to Europe with our band, and Richie called me up and said, "Hey, I'm working with Larry Fishman." I go, "The acoustic guy?" And he's like, yeah. He goes, he's got this new technology for electric guitar pickups. And he was being kind of guarded because at that point it was all, brand new technology. They had to, sign non-disclosure agreements. And needless to say, I hadn't signed squat at that point. And so he starts, yeah, we got these new pickups. And, what if I told you this? And then I go, Richie, I love you, and I'm sure they're great, but I just don't care. And the reason why is because at that point I was like, there's only so many days in the month, and I'm thinking if I get involved with these people and it's more other stuff, it's like I just want to sleep in my own bed. And I was already working a lot. I was doing the Wildwood thing. I was playing with the band. I was doing Fender stuff and yada yada yada. So to make a long story short, Richie started describing what these pickups do. And I was like, okay, all right, that sounds good. I'll check them out when I get back. So I did my Europe thing, came back. They flew me out to Boston. And within the first couple hours of hearing what they would do, I was like, well, I would totally use these whether I got paid to use them or not. But luckily that turned out. But basically what they're able to do is they're totally noise free. Especially for tellies, obviously, I love playing on the bridge pickup. I like playing the pickups by themselves, so I can't have the 60 cycle hum. And of course, every pickup prior to this that has been noise free hasn't been like the greatest sounding pickup. It's like, yeah, they're noiseless and they sound okay. So they sound unbelievable and they're noise free and they have a second voice to them because I always liked having a little bit of push over the edge. In the case of my telly pickups, there's a little button in between the volume and the tone control. It goes between like a black guard telly and a white guard telly. They look normal. You look at a telly with the minute. I mean, it's got the even though it's not nickel on it, it's a stainless steel cover, but it looks like a regular telly pickup. In the neck position, the bridge pickup as well. So they're fantastic. And of course, with me doing stuff with Fender over the years, it would have made sense to maybe do something with them in terms of a telly or, as we say, a T-style guitar. But I remember I should have told my buddies over there, man, they sound great, but we have our own pickups. I'm like, yeah, I know. And so I was trying to get them to do something. And then I was going to do something with Wildwood, just doing a run of like custom shop guitars, like the 55 Wildwood 10 that I was using for years with the Fishman pickups in it. And I've got a 53 telly, and we were gonna do some kind of custom shop version of those guitars. And then I started talking with Ken from Reverend. Wildwood does a lot of business with Reverend, and we would do a bunch of videos together. And Ken and I just had a really good rapport. And he always does cool stuff with, he's a musician himself, so they're always doing cool stuff at the trade shows where they'll actually have, get out a club and have several bands play, and they have some really cool endorsees from. I'm a big Pete Anderson fan. He's got Rick Vito. He's got all these different Reeves Gabrels and all these cats. So I was going to play their show in Nashville that they had. And at that point, I was like, well, what guitar should I use? I said, well, let me use one of those Pete Andersons and I'll just pop my Fishman pickups in it and we'll take it from there. So Fishman sent him the pickups. He popped it in. I played the Pete Anderson guitar. It was fabulous. I got this guitar. I'm like, this guitar is great. It sells for like $900, by the way. I'm playing this guitar and I'm going, intonation on this thing is great. It sounds magnificent. I played it versus my $5,000 Fender custom shop guitar. And yeah, there was a difference. You could hear a difference, but was it a $4,000 difference? Yeah, I don't know. Right. So we started, he basically said, he goes, Joe Naylor and I would love to do something with you if you're amenable. And I said, well, this wouldn't be difficult. We just maybe do a different neck profile, maybe pop, of course, have my pickups in it, put a different bridge on, do some different colors, and away we go. And he's like, well, was there anything else you'd want? I said, well, I always kind of wanted a slightly larger bodied Telecaster because I'm 6'7". Everyone always sees me play a Tele. Is that some kind of ukulele? I mean, is that some kind of small guitar? And so I remember a buddy of mine locally made me a Telly's type body, and it was 1/8 of an inch bigger on all sides, which isn't a lot, but it was just enough to give the illusion of being proportional. And so I had that in mind. And then Joe Naylor's like, well, you've got that weird Telly where it's like a Firebird body with the Telecaster neck and Telecaster pickups and controls. Why don't we do like a raised middle section on the larger Telly body? I said, well, that sounds cool. And so we put it all together. I got the prototype. I loved it. Actually, here's actually the prototype right here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, cool.
And
Hey, keep that up. Keep that up. Hang on 1 second.
yes.
Oh,
The
that's
only
all
thing that's different from that, it's not going to have this metal surround. It's actually going to be this pick guard material. Because one thing that's interesting is that the Fishman pickups, the reason why we couldn't use nickel is because the core of the Fishman pickups it's not wound. It's actually stacked thin, Wayfair thin, as they say, aerospace circuit boards that the coil is actually printed on. And so they stack 48 of these coils around magnets. And then there's actually a preamp on board that can make that core sound any way that you want it. Well, for whatever reason, they sound great. They sound magnificent. But with the tellies, it reacted weird to nickel. So we had to use stainless steel on there. And then it didn't have any effect on the sound. The pickup sounded right. But this pickup, surrounded by whatever metal they were using, was acting weird. So then we put the plastic around it and it sounded normal. So that's why we're going to go with the plastic around the pickup instead of the metal. So a little inside scoopity-doop on the making of this creature. But yeah, it's like 2% larger body all the way around. And they like using Carina. And it sounds great, Carina, in the wood sphere, although I know there's a lot of people on the inner Google that have spirited disagreements on the efficacy of wood and the and its effect on sound, but it's somewhere between ash and alder, kind of right in the middle is Carina, I guess. And so it's pretty light. It's a little over 7 pounds, and I dig it. I usually like a beefier neck. This neck is more like my 53 telly, which is not huge. Here's my 53, by the way. I finally broke down this year or last year and got a Blackguard telly, this beast.
Nice.
And
that is gorgeous.
Yeah, it was at Wildwood. A guy had passed away, and the guy's brother actually approached Steve Messplay from Wildwood and asked him if he would help kind of getting rid of the stuff for the widow. And so Steve bought the whole collection. So that guitar had been lurking at Wildwood for about 6 months, and I wanted it when it first came in, but it's got the little frets on it, and it's got the noisy pickups, and which I dig, but I'm like, that's a lot of money, and then a buddy of mine had lent me a 58 Strat. The guy had money. He's like, here, just use the Strat, just go out and gig with it. And I was like, well, the old school radius and the smaller frets are not a problem. and the sound of the pick, just the whole vibe. I was like, as soon as I went back to Wildwood, I played that guitar again. I was like, I got to get it. So I ended up liquidating a bunch of stuff, and I got rid of a kidney. And then next thing you know, I bought the telly.
You didn't need that. You didn't need
Exactly. I guess you only need one. I mean, that's what I got 4 kids for. If I need another one, I'll just,
Right.
I'll just harvest.
Right. You generated 4 other actually 8 other kidneys.
Exactly.
That's great.
And they said I was stupid for having 4 kids. What do they know? I don't get it.
That's awesome. So that is it all original telly?
He's got 4 kids, and he's got the 52 telly.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a spray over, so it's not like even though it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's there's a little hole right here. It's stuff that make it a player's thing, but it's still, I mean, all the pickups are original and all the inner workings and so on and so forth.
It makes it more affordable.
Yes, exactly.
So what?
It's still
beautiful.
And it's got a little history to it.
Yes.
Killer.
So that's
Very
kind of
cool.
fun. That's kind of fun.
And it's very fun. So tell us, I'm curious about your backstory, Greg. If you could give us like your backstory. How'd you get into guitar playing, and lead us up to how you started working with Wildwood guitars, if you don't mind. I'm curious of all that stuff.
Sure. Well, I guess I always wanted to have my own band. So I started guitar when I was 12. I was the youngest of 7 kids. My brother was the oldest. I was the youngest. There were 5 girls in between. So I had to room with my brother, who had the record collection of Doom. So where most of the kids my age, I mean, I was born in '66. I graduated high school in '84. By all intents and purposes, I should have either been a metal guy or a punk rocker of some sort. But because I was exposed to my brother's record collection, who was 14 years older than I was a kind of a baby boomer by default. So I grew up listening to Hendrix and Cream and the Stones and the Beatles and James Gang and all that kind of stuff. But I was obsessed with Hendrix at a very early age. I remember I did a report on Jimi Hendrix when I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Wow.
And the teacher was like, "Oh, he was a drug addict." I was like, "Well, yeah, respectfully, I mean, it wasn't like he was on heroin." I said, "You know, he didn't die of a heroin overdose. He died of the same thing Marilyn Monroe died of. You know, it was barbiturate intoxication." This is what I'm, you know, I knew all the
3rd grade, yeah.
In 3rd grade, arguing the case for Jim. And so I always wanted to play guitar. My mom played piano. No one else in my family played. My mom was a really good piano player, and she taught me, like, you know, the boogie woogie blues progression when I was very young. And I could play a blues progression just unwittingly. I didn't know what it was, but I just instinctively, you know, after she taught me it, I could do it. Right. But I wanted to play guitar really bad. And so when I was 12, me and a bunch of my miscreant friends started taking lessons with the goal of playing at our 8th grade graduation. And by God, 9 months later, we did. And from then on, I just gigged. I mean, I took to it very, very fast. Gigged all the time through high school. I played in the jazz band. I knew I went, you know, from that moment. I mean, before that, I mean, my dad was a lawyer. I was a pretty good student up until that point. I wanted to be following his footsteps and go to this hoity-toity high school and do the do and all that kind of stuff. As soon as I started playing guitar, that all ended. I was like, no, I'm a pirate. I'm going to be a debauched rocker of the night and of the day, and that's all there is to it. So I took that that descent into hedonism pretty seriously. I did end up going to college for music, but I really majored in beer, if we're honest. But I went to University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. And the unique thing about that is that there was a guitar player that ran the jazz department who was not like one of these, I'm going to just be politically astute and say, was not a turbo jazz enthusiast. He was, let's just say, usually under those circumstances, unless you're playing ES 175 or some iteration thereof with flat wound strings through a polytone amp, you're some kind of heretic. But this guy recognized, I had my bluesy country funky thing already kind of going on at that point. And I didn't want to really know every standard in the book. I just wanted to be able to play over changes and be able to read and write music at a professional level. And that's basically what I learned while I was there. And upon returning to Milwaukee, back from there, I lived up in Minneapolis for a short time as well. I got back to Milwaukee, basically started my own band, worked at the cool music store in town. And while I was at that music store, our band got to be very popular in the area. We're doing our own songs and trying to, do what to do and get the hell out of town and do whatever aspiring musicians do. But I had my day gig at the Cool Guitar Shop, where all the cool guitar guys worked and where they shopped and so on and so forth. And the local Fender rep brought in a guy by the name of Don Johnson, who was kind of a Fender icon and had been since the 60s. And we started telling a few jokes. Next thing you know, some guy comes in, he's looking for a guitar, he's looking for a telly. And so I grabbed the guitar off the wall. He wanted me to play a little bit. So I played some. And the Fender guy comes over and goes, "Are you in a band?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm in a band. As a matter of fact, we're playing tonight at this place where they serve food and stuff." So he came down and he stayed all night. And at the end, he's like, "We should have you do clinics. We should have you, we should get you in Fender Frontline magazine." I was like, "Well, that all sounds great to me." And so the very next night, Jack Schwartz, who had been doing stuff for Fender for years, he would travel around and do these bench checks where people would come in and he would tune up their guitar and set it up like in 5 minutes. It was the craziest thing. But he traveled all over the place with Fender, and he had been with Fender forever. And he was doing a clinic in town with the same Fender rep who said, "You got to go down and see this guitar player in his band." He's like, "I don't want to go see some dude. I just want to go to get a drink and go back to my house or go back to my hotel." And the guy's like, "No, you really should go." He's like, "I'll stay for one drink and then I'm gone." Well, he stayed all night, and then he proceeded to buy all the tapes that we had of our band. At that time, we had a tape. And before the gig, we'd take out our DAT machine, and we had a couple of dual TAC decks, and we would dub a bunch of stuff. And my wife made the artwork, and we'd cut them all out and put them in the thing. So he bought a whole bunch of these tunes these tapes of our original tunes, and he passed them around Fender. And that kind of led for, we played at a Nashville NAMM show shortly there afterwards with the band, and the big Thoroughbred Guitar festival they used to have down in Florida in Tampa there. And word started to spread from there. But still at that point, I was just, I might do 2 weeks out of the year for Fender at that point. I put out my own records. By that point, I probably had 4 or 5 records I'd put on my own. But then we started a family. We had 2 kids at that point in time. My wife's a graphic designer, and she was doing very, very well. So I basically was Mr. Mom for quite some time, other than just I'd do some sessions down in Chicago, in Milwaukee, play gig regionally. And then at one point, my wife, when we were going to have our 3rd kid, she's like, hey, can you do something to, I'd really like the opportunity to maybe stay home with the kids. Can you fire up your thing to the point where maybe we could make that happen? And luckily, what happened was I called the Fender guys. I'm like, hey, every time I do stuff for you, it seems to go good. I'm kind of in a situation here. I need to make a little bit more bread. What do you say? And they said, well, we got this new amp coming called the Cyber Twin, and we need someone to kind of champion this thing for us at NAMM. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And at the same point in time, I was approached by the Hal Leonard Corporation, who are located in town here that do all the instructional books and, a variety of different, they're basically the world's biggest music publisher. Right. And they had approached me about rewriting the Hal Leonard guitar method at the same time. I'm like, well, yes, I'll do that too. So I go out to NAMM in January of 2001. I debut this amplifier. At first, they just wanted me to play, and the guy who was the marketing manager was supposed to do all the talking. He had all of his bullet points, but little did I know underpinning this entire situation is that Richie Fliegler was told to stand down and not to do this project because they were sure it was going to be a failure. So Richie, behind Bill Schultz's back, put all his money on getting this thing, getting it ready to go, constructing this theater inside their booth, and presenting this amp, hoping against hope that it would be a big splash and he would salvage his job and the world would be great. I didn't know any of this. So I go into this the first day of rehearsals, or, as they're setting up the booth on the Wednesday. It's very tense. And I start, playing along with some tracks and playing a little bit, and they're trying to get this guy to say his spiel, and he's kind of, bless him, he's nervous, he's stumbling over his words. And Richie's there with a panel of people, and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're doing. And I finally just said, hey, do you mind if I talk? Do you mind if I just kind of do this whole thing? And they're like, sure, go ahead and do it. So I come out and I go, hey, this is really cool. You can do this and this and this. You can match this and this and this. Hey, check this out. Blah, blah, blah. I play a tune. I start telling some jokes. They finally just said, introduce him and get off. So I basically, for the next 4 days, I did 7 half-hour shows a day for 4 days straight. After 2 of them, Bill Schultz came up to me and shook my hand. He goes, congratulations, Greg, you're the talk of the show. And then the guy that was ahead of artist relations brought me in this little room, and he goes, well, here, he shows me his computer screen. Here's the budget we have for you to do clinics this year. Will that work for you? And I was like, yes. So then I was able to call up my wife and say, because our goal was 6 months after our 3rd child was born, she wanted to be able to stay home with the kids. So on the first day of the 6th month, I handed her the keys to our newly purchased minivan, and I left to go on the road for a month doing clinics and gigs and whatnot. And then the Hal Leonard thing worked out. And then Steve Vai's people from his new label at that point, Favored Nations, were at one of my shows that I did, and I ended up getting the record deal with Favored Nations, and I put out 2 records. The first one was a compilation of a lot of the stuff I'd put out previously, but it was new to everybody that wasn't an extreme guitar geek at that particular point in time. So right. That all happened in that 1 year. So the Hal Leonard method came out, and I've got 14 or 15 titles with them now, and so it all kind of stemmed from that. So I started traveling all over the world doing stuff with Fender, and a lot of times it was just the band stuff. I'd basically go in, and my unofficial title, they would, in their words, not mine, I was their ambassador. So I would go in a lot of times and just perform with the band. I went all over the world for them. You know, and how it would basically work is they'd say, hey, we got this new guitar on this amp this year. We think it's something you would like. You want to check it out? And if you like it, we'll have you tour with it this year. I'm like, cool. So they'd sent me something that I knew I would like. And I'd go, yeah, sure. But I'd find ways of talking about it. And off we would go. And so that lasted for about 15 years. And somewhere along the line, I mean, I never had, a lot of people thought I was employed by Fender, but I was never officially employed in terms of having like a guarantee or anything. And I think that was probably to my advantage because I had all these different arrangements with all these Fender entities all over the world. So I was not one bottom line on some guy's ledger in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was kind of like none of them really knew, you know, where the dough was going. So I ended up, you know, at one point when my kids were getting older, going to go to college, I said, you know, it would be nice to maybe have a guarantee from you guys and maybe centralize where this is all happening so I wouldn't have to tear my hair out every year trying to figure out, you know, what was going on. And oh, absolutely. I'm surprised you haven't asked sooner. So to make a long story short, it never happened. But right around this same time, of course, they were going through different regime changes and so on and so forth. And all the guys I was dealing with, a lot of them are gone. But, you know, no one really kind of, let's just say it didn't happen. But right along that time, Steve Messplay from Wildwood Guitars got a hold of his local Fender rep who called me up and said, hey, remember that story you did a clinic at with the band? I said, yeah, Steve and Wildwood. He's like, yeah. He goes, well, he's doing a new thing with his website. His goal is that for years he's been upping the game with, you know, having all these different instruments and putting, you know, pictures from every angle and putting the weights and, you know, necks profiles and all this kind of minutia online, and was one of the first guys to do it. He goes, but now he wants to have people from all the different manufacturers come and actually do videos for these guitars so you can hear what each individual guitar sounds like. He goes, so he wants you to do it for Fender. Are you interested? I'm like, well, yeah, I'll go out there. So I go out there. This was 6 years ago. And Steve always tells a story. I walked in, I went where Steve's lair was actually in his basement. I guess I can say it now because those amps are all out of there. But where all those amps were, the Marshalls and the Dumbles, those were all Steve's amps. And I go up in front of that gauntlet of glory. And the first guitar I ever did was a Fender Custom Shop Telecaster. And he said, well, the gist is, you know, play each pickup dirty and clean and kind of do some different styles and talk about your impressions of the guitar. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So, and all they really have on the screen is the name of the guitar, the serial number, and the weight. So I plugged in, I do my thing, I get done. He stands up and he walks over to me. He goes, can I hire you to do this? I go, well, what are we doing right now? And he's like, I'll fly you out here every month and pay you to do this. I go, you're kidding me. I go, kind of like a job? And he's like, absolutely. So at first I started to go out there 2 days a month. And I was just doing Fender stuff, but right around this time, the Fender thing's not really blooming into anything that they said it was going to be. I'm still doing stuff all over the world for them, but the stuff in the U.S. had completely dried up at that point. And so, you know, and I'd played Gibsons and Paul Reed Smiths for years, Gibsons especially. I said to him, I go, you know, Steve, I can play these other guitars, and I can play Gretches. I can play, I know my way around all these guitars. Like, well, I'll tell you what, if you could do those videos for us too, we could use you a couple more days a month. And so I remember calling up the Fender guys and said, hey, I really don't think it's a conflict if I do this, and you're not really ponying anything up anyway. And they're like, go ahead, do what you got to do. So that all happened. So I go out there 4 days a month, and I've been doing that ever since. Their sales have been going crazy. The amount of people that see those videos of all the stuff I've done over the years, in terms of, you know, the Fender thing, and, you know, in that period of time, I had columns in all the different guitar magazines at various different points, you know, and all the different stuff with the record labels that I've been on and all that other kind of stuff, which has all been well and good. It pales in comparison to those Wildwood videos. Because basically, as I said before, I play and say whatever I want. So
right. And the YouTube exposure it's
insane. So
it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. Speaking of YouTube, I want to just acknowledge we've had two people who, because we had the super chat thing, and two guys have contributed. Matthew Newton, thank you very much. And who's the other gentleman? Lawton Childs. Rock on, good sir. Thank you.
Excellent.
So just want to acknowledge those dudes. And so, sorry to interrupt you. I just want
That's
to,
all right.
thank.
But in case you just let me interrupt a little more.
Yeah.
In case you guys don't understand, the super chat is something new, and we're a little unfamiliar with it ourselves, and it allows you to help contribute to the show if you'd like, or you can ask a question, and it pins the question, to the top of the thing, so we make sure to answer it for you. By no means you have to contribute, though. We're not
super chat.
It's just a cool little thing that we did. So sometimes we have a hard time answering people's questions, all of them, and if you really want an answer, it's a good way to do it.
That's true. That's true.
All right,
yeah,
back to the regular scheduled program now. Sorry.
Yeah. So they have you out there 4 days a month, you said.
That's correct.
And you're doing all different types, and you've done Friedman videos. I've seen Friedman videos.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
There was the small box video. That was quite fun.
Well, I don't know. Did I tell you about the? I don't know if I told you about the time that about 3 years ago, the boys, as I said, we do the videos off site of the store, and we usually go back to the store later on in the afternoon, and I just kind of grab guitars and start playing them. And at one point, I was like, "Hey, we want to have you do a quick video back at the store for this customer just wants a little iPhone video." So we go back, and they take out a small box 50 combo, and I plug into it, and I start playing, and they go, "Well, how do you like this thing?" I go, "Oh, it's magnificent. It sounds great. I mean, the combo is really kind of my thing anyway, and it sounds great." And they're like, "It's yours." I'm like, "What do you mean it's mine?" Well, some customer, because I would talk in such glowing terms about the Friedman devices that I'd been pummeling on the videos, decided that he would buy me one. So an anonymous individual out there in the Intergoogle purchased for me a small box 50 combo, which is pretty doggone cool.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
so, I can dig it.
I'll take a small box 50 combo if someone wants to send that to me. No, that's awesome. That's killer. So speaking of what is the difference? Because I really don't know. What's the difference between the Wildwood version of that amp and the regular version, Dave? Or
well, two of the channels.
There's just that
there's a third master, and on that third master, it gets an extra gain kind of kicked in. It's sort of like a saturation circuit on some of my other amps, and but you need the master to adjust the volume to the appropriate spot. So it's like a lead boost, so to speak, with the extra gain. And the amp is ever so slightly voiced, a little bit different than the normal one. There's one little extra cap in there that kind of changes the rolls a little of the top end off of the normal small box.
It's conducive to the Rocky Mountain lifestyle, is basically what you're saying.
And is that the one you have, Greg?
Yes, I do have yes, it is a Wildwood iteration, I believe. Yes, although I'm always on either channel 1 or channel 2. That's my my thing.
That's awesome. That's killer. So I also read that one of your children is in your band with you.
That is correct. My son Dylan is a drumming beast. He is 23 years of age. He's in the other room, as a matter of fact. Well, he had been doing some stuff with me a little bit, like after he graduated from high school. I did this record. I'd written a bunch of tunes with this really good wordsmith in town here, and I decided I'd do a record where I'd have this guy sing all those tunes, and I'd bring in special guests in. So we had, Robin Ford was on a couple, 3 tunes, Joe Bonamassa. I'm a big Little Feat fan. I've been buddies with Paul Barrere for a while, so Paul played and sang on a tune, played on a couple more songs, and Roscoe Back played, and my buddy Brandon Temple, yada, yada, yada. So my son actually played on the record as well. And then he toured that record with us in Europe the semester after his high school graduation. And then he ended up wanting to go to music school. So he ended up going to this school in Minneapolis area called McNally Smith College of Music, which unfortunately just closed its doors about not quite a year ago. We had nothing to do with that, by the way. But he went up there for a semester, and then that summer they had the faculty had approached me with the idea of someone had just left the school, and they wanted someone to teach like this guitar survey class of styles and give some history of the different styles and some playing examples. And they said, "Hey, can you teach that class?" I was like, "I live in Milwaukee. I travel all over the time. There's no way I can do it." They said, "Well, what if we told you only have to be here 2 days a month when you can be here, and we'll make you full-time faculty, which means we salary, we give you benefits, and your kid goes to school for free." I was like, "I think I'm there." So I got an apartment up in Minneapolis, and on Mondays and Tuesdays, I would go up there and teach these classes and then bolt out from there. So my son went to school there for I don't know, year and a half or so. And they said, "Dad, I just can't stay here anymore. I need to go." I was like, at that point, I was like, that's no problem, because if I have to keep the schedule, I think I'm going to die. So he just started doing gigs down here in Milwaukee, up in Minneapolis. And finally, he about a year and a half ago now, I guess, he kept on telling me about this organ player. He's like, "Dad, you got to hear this organ player I'm playing with. He's unbelievable." I'm like, "Well, that's great, but he's up in Minneapolis. It's 5 hours away. Doesn't really do him much good." He's like, "Yeah, but you got to hear him. He's unbelievable." So then my son started telling me, "Hey, there's Toby is the name of the organ player, Toby Marshall." He's like, "Toby's coming down. He's buying a Leslie speaker from some guy in Milwaukee. He's going to be here next week. We should get together and jam with him." I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. I'm in town, but I'll be running around. Just remind me when it's the day of. And so my son kept on bugging me. "Toby's coming. What are we going to do?" I was like, "We got that keyboard in the basement. When he comes, we'll just go downstairs and mess around for a while." He's like, "Dad, he's not going to play that piece of shit. He plays Hammond B3. He's not going to play that." I was like, "Well, what do you suggest?" He goes, "Well, I suggest we move it in the front room, and we'll move the furniture around, and we'll set it up." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, your mom's going to love that." Let me figure out something. So finally, it's like the day of, and my son's going to work at this coffee shop. He goes, "Dad, I'm off at 2. Toby will be here at 2:30. What are we going to do? We got to do something." I'm like, "For fuck's sake." So I get on the phone and I call up this buddy of mine who owns the studio that I know he has a C3 set up. He's got a drum set. Everything's ready to go. But I have no idea if he's in town, available, or anything. So I call him up. He answers the phone. It's like, "Steve, this doesn't mean anything to you, but Toby's coming to town today, okay? And he's a B3 player, and we need a place to jam. Are you open? Can we come over there today?" He said, "Yeah, no problem. Come over at 2:30. I'll have everything ready to go." He goes, "I'll record it." So I'm like, "Cool." So we went over there, set up, got some sounds real quick, and I said, "Hey, let's just start off with a shuffle." Let's do a shuffle in G. So I counted off. I make up a head on the spot, and that's the first tune on a record. The second tune we ever played is the second tune on the record. So I was going to put it out. I mean, I knew right away that it was like this monstrous thing that could not be stopped. So I sent it to this label. One of the labels I had been on in the past is this mascot label group in the Netherlands, which is, Bonamassa's on that, and Robin Ford and Eric Gales, yada, yada, yada. All these guitar guys are on this label. So I after the first session, I knew we were onto something. So I arranged a session for 2 weeks later, and I flew the Wildwood video crew out to film the next sessions that we did. So we had 2 videos edited down. I sent those with a little promo blurb to the head of the label, and I said, "I have no idea if you're interested in this." He gets back to me right away. He's like, "This is perfect. I'm launching this new instrumental label. This is exactly what I'm looking for. What do you want for an advance?" I'm like, "They do that these days?" They still do that. And so we ended up getting this cool deal. The record came out last February.
Oh wow.
It's gotten great reviews. It was on Sirius XM on the Bluesville. They were playing it all over the place. And the tune they've been playing is that first tune, which I called Toby Arrives, as you would. Why wouldn't you call it Toby Arrives? So it's the Koch Marshall Trio. So it's me and my son and this brilliant B3 player named Toby Marshall from Minneapolis. And we go out and we play as a 3-piece. And I've always done vocal stuff on my other records, but for this one, we just do instrumentals. But it's like this groovy, funky, bluesy kind of Deep Purple meets the Meters on the Highway to Jimmy Smith. I don't know what the hell it is, but
That's
it's rocking. So
That's
that's
killer.
what we've been doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been good.
I also saw you did a great video, or actually I missed it that year. Dave, that was the year that George Metropolis at Summer NAMM.
Mm-hmm.
I think weren't you there, Greg? You played
Yes.
I thought I saw a video you playing with some people.
Well,
in the
JD
studio.
Simo, actually, Charles Whitfill.
Right, Charles Whitfield, that's right.
Had made a telly for me that I really liked, and he's like, "Hey, we're having this party over at the studio. You should come on over. JD's going to be over." And JD's a buddy, and I hadn't seen him in a while. JD Simo. So I went over there, and with the promise of hanging out with those guys and eating some barbecue. So we went over there. Barbecue was delivered, and it was delicious. And then all of a sudden, this impromptu jam just kind of happened, and that was kind of fun. So we jammed a little bit, and next thing you know, of course, it's on the internet, because I guess that's what happens these days.
Everything is on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
So unfortunately,
and away it goes.
Yeah. There's no hiding.
No, exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Exactly correct.
Vinny Moretti, thanks, bud. Thanks for contributing.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. We have Old Guy. Old Guy's a big fan, Greg. He said those Wildwood videos are incredible, hilarious, and crazy playing.
Oh, well, thank you.
I
do enjoy doing them.
We have a question from Mark, who wanted to know, for me, what's new for 2019 NAMM? Well,
yes,
can't say everything. But you're asking, hoping for a 100-watt BE100 Deluxe. You're going to get that. I can tell you that much because I've already said it before. Couple of the other things I can't say. They'll be a surprise. That's the best way to do it. And they'll actually be shipping at NAMM.
Oh,
not shown at NAMM and shipped a year later.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a little experience that with this. I did the signature Koch amplifier, and we did great hullabaloo at NAMM, and now they're just being shipped now.
Yeah, that's the way that works sometimes, unfortunately.
Hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And also, yeah, hey, Vinny, I haven't tried the cable yet. I just got home, and I'm barely here today. You didn't answer that question, but I'm sure you're going to. But thank you, and I will get to it. It is actually here in my bag at my shop now, so it made it all the way home from New York. And also, I got to meet Timothy Pierce, not Tim Pierce, not Tim Pierce, Timothy
Pierce.
Who's one of our regulars here. He came to one of the clinics, and he was on here a minute ago. I saw him somewhere.
So Timothy.
Yep. He introduced himself, and good to say hi. And he seemed to enjoy the clinic. You
saw Tim Mann, X-Man. I think he met you guys in Detroit.
Okay. The thing is, no. I mean, here's the thing. I mean,
you saw a lot of people. There were 100 people there.
Well, we see a lot of people, and they all come up and say, "Hey, I watch you on Tone Talk, and I'm a regular on there." And I'm like, "Okay." And it goes in one ear, out the next, and I can't remember the next day. It's like at the NAMM show when everyone introduced, 4 people introduced themselves, and it's, "I'm sorry, I will forget all your names in about." Well, I already did. So you're going to have to tell me again, and I apologize, but that's the way. For some reason, I have a hard time, like when I'm in like a bunch of people at one time, focusing.
Yeah.
Like too many things are distracting me, and then I'm having a hard time focusing. So
I can see that.
I can totally relate.
I talked to you at NAMM. Okay, so did a lot of people. I don't remember.
Yeah, Trust me, I understand. Jeff Hawk says, saw Greg in Nashville with tone controls. It was incredible.
Oh yeah, that was at the Wild Horse Saloon years ago. Yes.
Interesting.
That was the first iteration of my band. It was Greg Koch on the tone controls.
I love the name, tone control. That's awesome. Too cool. Vinny Moretti says, Dave modded my BE100 with the Buxom channel.
Oh yes.
Oh wait, Mark again.
Yeah.
Different tone between 100 Deluxe and BE 100. Well, the BE channel would be exactly the same, except you'll have the expanded controls in the power amp section of the amp for the response and the thump knob. And the HB channel is a little different, and the clean channel is totally different. It's a Buxom Betty clean channel. So that's the difference. And the BE 100 will probably shortly thereafter be phased out in favor of the 100 Deluxe.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Michael Kraus. So more Grizzle? Of course.
But of course.
Of course. You have to ask.
Wasn't there a pedal called the Gristle something?
Yes, the Gristle King.
Gristle King, right.
Wow.
Yeah, so my buddy from my buddy Tim Yarning, who I went to school with in Stevens Point, he went back to school after music, and he graduated with a music degree and went back and got his engineering degree. And he started making guitar pedals, and he made me an overdrive pedal years ago, and we called it the Diabolical Gristle Tone Manipulator, as you do. And that sounded magnificent, but he had this clean boost that I really liked. And I said, well, what if we put that clean boost in with the other pedal, the overdrive pedal? We'll call it the Gristle King. And so he did. And so we've been selling those since probably 2002, 2003. And T-Rex made them for a hot minute about 10 years ago. And then whoever was, running that ship for a while phased it out, which was fine. Then we kind of retweaked it. And Tim has been making them ever since. And then we did an iteration called the Triple Gristle, which has this unbelievable fuzz on it with the clean boost and the overdrive. And I actually used that on that latest Koch Marshall Trio record. And that was magnificent. But poor Tim, he works his engineering job. He comes home. He's got to get these pedals done at night. He also makes the pedal for Jeff Coleman, the bombastic meat bat pedal. And Lukather uses that. So every time
I know that pedal
does like a rig review, shows that pedal. So Tim gets inundated with these orders. So anyway, Fishman sussed out making Gristle Kings for us. And I just got one the other day. And it sounds good. So we're going to be able to offer a less expensive, but yet obtainable version of the Gristle King that will be available at through my website, through Tim's website, and any retailer that wants to stock it, because we've got quantity. So
that's cool.
There's that.
That's super cool. Scott F has a great question. Greg, Esquires or Telecasters? What is your preference?
Yes. I don't actually own an Esquire, but I'd love to own an Esquire, because there's nothing that sounds like that one pickup in the back there. It's
I agree. I mean, it's like my quick answer is Esquire.
That's my answer. Yeah.
I love that one pickup kind of thing. Here's all you got. Do something with it.
Yeah, it's a magnificent thing. I would like to get an old Esquire. I don't currently have one, but yes, they are exquisite.
But don't they say that the tone slightly changes because there's no additional pickup in the neck position, that, the magnet
gets the full Monty of the juice.
The magnet pull of the strings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, supposedly that's a thing.
Supposedly.
All I know is that they sound good.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something that says when you're given less stuff, sometimes is much better.
No, absolutely.
It's like And it's like, well, how do I make this sound different? Well, oh, I rolled. Oh, I use the volume knob. Oh, yes.
Oh, exactly. Tone control. Oh, I actually use my fingers to squeeze nuances out of this instrument. Yes.
Yes. Which I think, yeah, maybe everyone should be locked in a room with a single channel amp and an Esquire.
Yes.
Okay, now play that for a while and figure out how to get these tones.
Exactly.
I'll take a Les Paul Jr. instead, but
Well, there's that.
just me. But yes, that's another great guitar. Some Dave dude says Gibson Custom /58 Brazilian Dream Les Paul video was great. I guess that's something recent you must have done.
Yes. Yeah, that's a nice guitar. I just played about 10 of those damn things on my last trip. And that was a nice guitar. It's it actually looks like apparently Slash has been playing that one quite a bit as of late. It's got the covers off and the brown double coil underneath, and it's more of a kind of a tobacco sunbursty thing. It's got a beefy neck on it. It sounded good. It reminded me of Joe Walsh's old guitar that he would use back in the day. But I liked it. You know, it's just real plain top, simple beast, but sounded good. And there is something to that Brazilian thing. I mean, I've never done extensive, you know, back and forths, but all I know is that every time I play those Brazilian guitars, I question whether I need one or not, and that's a problem.
I thought that the Brazilian Rosewood was
verboten.
Yeah, like you were not allowed to use it. So
yeah, but deals were made, I reckon.
Well, that's why the guitar may be. It's a quite expensive guitar. It's like I think it's over 10 grand, right?
Yeah, they're not cheap for sure. Yeah, but you know what's so crazy about Wildwood and people buy guitars there. It's if people actually knew the numbers that store did, I think that they'd poop a little, you know, because it's ridiculous. You know, they're the number one independent Fender custom shop dealer in the world, the number one independent Gibson custom shop dealer in the world. These expensive guitars, like guys, it's just amazing to me. Those people are like, why did you buy 20 of those guitars? They'll sell them like this. It's insane. So yeah, it's a lot of people will comment on YouTube when they watch who's buying these guitars. The people don't even get to YouTube. They just watch those videos from the site, and they'll just like go through, use them to compare the guitars, and bing bang boom.
Nope, it happens.
Yeah, and with the amps too.
They go.
I'm sure with the amps.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you'll be playing bass, keyboards. You're gonna get you on that sax.
It could happen.
It might happen. You never know. I want my $2. Oh, I love that. Anybody know what movie that's from?
No.
Anybody? I want my $2. Better Off Dead. Great movie from the 80s. So they said this is like the gathering of guitar YouTube royalty. we also have Sean Tubbs in the chat. I also saw the Steve from Boston. So we got a bunch of YouTubers on here.
Yeah. And let's see, I found a couple more questions buried in here.
Oh, yeah?
Although I'm not looking extremely closely. But Ryan Reeves asked, still planning on releasing the Golden Pearl pedal? Yes, that is the 19th of November. It will be released.
The wah is available already, right?
The wah is available, yeah. The Golden Pearl and the BEOD Deluxe will be the 19th of November.
Yeah.
You will see a plethora of videos on that stuff.
Nice.
And all that. And then someone else, Cole Wilson Music, asks, what differences between run 20 and 50? Well, I'm going to state the obvious. One's 20 watts and one's 50 watts. But the clean channel is different mainly. The overdrives are very similar. The clean channel is like a full clean with EQ and everything on the Run 50, and it's just a single knob and a bright switch clean on the Run 20, as you know, since you own it, I believe. And what's the amp based off of? Well, it's really the BE channel that is in a lot of my amps, or similar or slightly different versions of it, and packaged together with a cool clean channel. And the 20-watt power section is kind of based off the old 20-watt Marshalls, and the 20-watt or the 50-watt is like a old 50-watt Marshall style power section. I think that's a complete answer.
I will say, having owned, well, I own both. I own the Run 20 and the BE 100. The Run 20's got a lot of your DNA. It's got all your DNA, but it's, from a BE perspective, it really has that sound,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, so if people, if you want a Friedman amp, but you don't have the money, you don't want to spend that kind of money for the hand wired stuff, I say get the Run stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Good stuff.
I really do believe it.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I'm not just saying it because Dave is on the show with me.
It's good
true.
stuff.
It's good stuff. It is. So old guy says Dylan is a sick drummer, plays in the pocket like a boss.
Ah, yes, the boy. Yes. Well, thank you. I
agree. Check him out. That's awesome.
Go, keep going. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Mark again asks, any benefit of buying a B100 now if buying a B100 Deluxe? No. No reason at all. No reason at all. If you're going to get the B100 Deluxe, that'll be available at NAMM. So it's and that's right around the corner.
It is right around the corner.
It's at this point in time in the year is when it's Halloween. Then it's all of a sudden it's NAMM, and it happens about that fast.
Yeah,
it literally just races for the rest of the year. Holy crap!
I'm all booked.
Yes, indeed.
And then it'll be NAMM again.
Do you go to NAMM, Greg?
Oh God, yes.
Oh yes, he's doing videos upon videos upon videos upon videos.
I didn't see you last NAMM. The last two NAMMs I haven't seen. No, actually, I saw you at Summer NAMM, but I didn't see you at Winter NAMM for some reason.
Yes, I do a bunch of video stuff for Wildwood while I'm there. I do a bunch of stuff for Fishman. And then we did a thing for Hammond last year. We did stuff for IK Media. Now, of course, I'll have the Reverend thing and the Koch amp thing. So literally, I will be
all over the place
moving.
Yeah, so it's you won't. Yeah,
but you know what? You got to take that money and run. You got to take it.
Well, we do have a bar in our booth.
Well, I stopped drinking. It makes me break out in handcuffs.
Oh, here we go.
That doesn't do me any good.
That's all right. But they have cold Cokes,
Yes.
Yeah, coffee and Cokes.
Yeah, coffee. That's
pastries. The frickin' pastries were great.
Well, maybe, if the same person brings them, yes.
Well, you tell me where they are.
We're a full service booth.
NAMM Lair. Full service.
We might even do it a little bit better this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Meaning you learn from any mistakes you made the first time around.
It was still good last year, so can't improve perfection. That was fun. As long as we don't get too crowded, right? Because
we're gonna do some performances actually in the sound room this year.
Oh, are you?
Oh, so talk about crowded.
Yeah, that'll be.
It's all right. It's standing room.
It'll be an intimate affair.
I'm wondering. I'm still not exactly sure how I'm doing that, but I think we will be doing it.
Hope you guys do. There were a couple guys playing outside of the room. But and I think they'll do that again, and we still might do that also. But the nice thing about the room is you can actually play it with some volume, baby.
Yes. Without the NAMM police shining around with their
meters. Those rooms.
I always find the funniest thing about that sound room is on setup day, you start playing a guitar amp in there and you're standing outside of the booth on setup day when it's all quiet and everything. And it's a hella loud outside.
Yeah.
Right. Come NAMM, You couldn't tell there's a guitar amp playing in the booth to save your life. You couldn't hear a single thing outside because it's just this din of noise, you know, and it's like no one would know where that sound is coming from. But you can't hear it.
No, that's a fact.
The room is not soundproof. It just got walls. That's it. Like,
oh, I thought it was actually soundproof.
It is not soundproof. If you heard it on setup day, you'd understand what I mean.
That's crazy.
You'd be like, "Holy crap, it's loud!"
Wow.
No, you don't hear it. You don't hear it at all. It works great.
That's awesome. What was I going to say? Peter Lasis says, "Hey Dave, did you learn or take anything from the Cameron CCV when you were making those? I didn't know you were making those."
I didn't physically make them. Did I learn or take anything from it? No, not at all. That's Mark's design, and I didn't take anything from it.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm just going through here. See if you have any. Yeah, I would get the BE50 Deluxe or the BE100 Deluxe personally. Wait for it. Right?
Right.
Waiting for Greg to chime in. So what other videos do you have? You just released a video which was on Custom Shop Strat, I saw. So they're constantly releasing your videos, Greg. Like each month, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's always a sea of stuff that's coming out. So as I said, because we do about 20 videos a day now. It used to be 30 videos a day, which was insane. But now
that's a lot.
We do about 20 videos a day. So, and then they edit them pretty quick. So the stuff kind of comes out in kind of droves. And then every now and again, they'll put out the outtakes videos and people seem to enjoy those. And then there's other videos that pop up. Like we did when we were in Italy with the band. We started off our tour. We were in Italy in Modena, which is where IK Media's home office is, where they have all the amps that are used in their amp farm thingamabob. And we played in their sound room there, and they just released those videos. So it's us jamming with the organ trio. Those are pretty cool, actually. So those are on YouTube, some damn place. And then people always, you'll see concerts that we did in various different places. People will upload them, and so there's plenty of footage of the Koch Marshall trio on the internet at this particular point in time that seem to be coming up. But we're doing a thing in a couple weeks up in Appleton, Wisconsin. We're going to be on TV up there in this recording studio in front of a live audience, and then we'll have more studio quality kind of live footage of some new tunes, and so that'll be fun. And then we'll be up in Minneapolis on November 17th at a place called the Hook and Ladder. And then the very next night at First Avenue, I'm going to be jamming sitting in with Dweezil Zappa. He just reached out to me yesterday, as a matter of fact. So that'll be kind of fun. I'm a huge Zappa fan.
So pretty killer.
That'll be fun. So
what are you guys going to play?
Always something. I don't know yet. We're going to figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I saw Zappa play Zappa, which was awesome.
Yeah, that is. I saw that lineup about 3 times, and then they had their inter-family squabbles where he couldn't call it that anymore. But now he's playing. I think he's doing the tunes again and being able to call it what it is. So it'll be fun.
He's still calling it Zappa plays Zappa, I think, right? I think he can, right?
I'm not exactly sure.
He's calling it something different now. It's not the official Zappa plays Zappa, because there was some kind of
with the brothers and his sister. Yeah,
but I think they got that worked out now. Hopefully,
good. I hope so. Yeah, that's good. That's cool. Yes, Chris wrote, "I can imagine what the booth will smell like." Actually, it was not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I was in
cramming even more people into the room.
Well, it came, yeah, but they had air freshener there. So,
We did?
I remember somebody walking around spraying it. I think Dave Black.
No.
I swear to God.
No.
I thought someone was spraying.
Febrezing the booth.
Maybe it was my partner Rob. That might.
Someone did. So
Right.
I remember someone walking in with some Febreze because maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I think someone ripped one. I really do.
It can happen.
Yes. But no, surprisingly, it's not bad. Sean Tubbs said, wait, there's bourbon.
Sean, there could be bourbon if you tell me what to stock.
Come on out, Sean.
Yeah, aren't you coming, Sean? You're coming, aren't you?
The gitologist said, I'll never go to NAMM. Hell on earth. So go to summer NAMM. That's not even close to what winter NAMM is.
Exactly. It's not even close.
Not even close. Yeah. Summer NAMM is much more relaxed.
Yes, it's very
okay, Sean.
subdued.
Sean, you say Booker's. Okay, I'll stock it if you're coming. You coming to NAMM or not?
He says, Vinny says Sean is coming.
All right, Booker's it is. You get it.
BEOD or Dirty Shirley for /like tone.
I'd
go for
maybe the. Well, wait, pedals?
That's with pedals, yeah.
Actually, I'd probably do the Dirty Shirley.
Well, you got the ear better than I do.
Yeah. Start with the mid knob off, though. And then slowly bring that in if you want some.
Okay.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? Steve from Boston is here. What's going on?
Hello, Steve.
Steve from Boston.
Yeah, last time I was in Boston, we were going to meet up, but it just didn't work out. So we'll meet up next time. Yeah, Dweezil, Sean Tubbs says Dweezil is crazy good. He is.
Yes, absolutely.
So good. And the thing that I love about Dweezil is that he's got a lot of like the 80s influence in him too, like Van Halen and some of the metal stuff that and then he can go off and do his dad stuff. He's a very versatile player.
Yes, indeed.
All right, we're gonna do impromptu jams in the booth. I think I just decided. We're gonna shove two great players together if we see them at the same time, and go play.
That would be good. Do you have the ability?
The Friedman group grope.
Yeah, it's a group.
Give me a reach round.
The group grope. Wow. This doesn't faze me that much. I've done a bunch of videos of Greg, so I kind of know what to expect. But every once in a while, he pulls out a really good one.
You need a sign on the wall. The group grope. That's funny. Oh my god. Charles G Guitar says, Greg, do you read music?
I do, just enough to get myself in trouble. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Back when I would do more sessions, I can read a chord chart down like nothing. But the single note line stuff, it's like I always need to woodshed it. But I can certainly transcribe stuff and do what I need to do. If I'm out of practice, it takes me a little while. But
that's what everyone says. It reads. It's like, yeah, if I haven't used it in a while, it's like, okay, what is this again?
Exactly.
Refreshing.
By the way, Steve from Boston says that he saw Zappa in '88 and was lucky enough to meet him and get his autograph, which is super cool. Cool. I actually saw Zappa my first concert. This is I think I've said this before on here. My aunt and uncle wanted to take me and my cousins to a concert where we would see kids doing drugs, which would turn us off from doing drugs. I swear to God.
Huh?
They wanted us to, they wanted us to see these degenerate people.
Did it work?
But I wanted the Frank Zappa T-shirt by the end of the concert.
Yes, and the drugs.
Yes, and the drugs. I was 13. So I saw, I think I was 30, maybe I was 12, a little younger. And I saw it was the Shut Up and Play Your Guitar tour with Steve Vai.
Oh wow!
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, I was sick. I had no idea what I was seeing at the time. But looking back now, 40 years later, it's pretty wild. But yeah, so that was my first concert. So yeah, pretty crazy. And Jim Becker said that the booth smells like new amps. That it does.
Okay.
That's a good smell, though.
That is a beautiful smell. Metal Madness said your tour should be called Choice Cuts. Okay. I get it with the grizzle. I get it. Okay. I'm just scrolling down here. Sean is coming, he says. Vinny says. All right, so that works for me. We'll have to hang out. I'd love to see Sean and Greg play.
Yeah,
I'll be down with that. Causing
we'll mix
trouble.
them all up. We'll do Sammy and Sean. We'll do Sean. You're playing.
Give him a time slot.
You're gonna get tossed into the mix of the group grope.
Into the fray.
You're gonna participate in the group grope.
All right, so we've got.
That's fucking great.
That is great.
I'm stealing that one.
That's from the movie Autofocus. Do you ever see that movie about
No.
Bob Crane?
No.
Oh, you got to see Autofocus. That's a
Oh, I haven't
must.
seen that one. Oh, Metal Madness 66 says, Mark, the Dweezil tour is called Choice Cuts.
Exactly.
Oh.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
I missed that. Okay, my bad. Okay. Now I understand it. Yeah, so I was just looking at something and then I totally lost it. What were they saying? I totally lost it.
It's all right. It happens.
Oh, shit. Oh, well, no big deal. One more in the group grope, dear friends. The group grope.
We used to make T-shirts.
That's it.
Yeah, I'd love to see Greg and Sean play, Sammy and Greg play. You need to come by the booth, Greg. That'd be awesome.
I'll definitely
Well, he'll be by. Be doing a
Yes.
video, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Have you played the Friedman guitars?
I have. They're very nice.
Yeah, they're
I've,
awesome.
I've mistreated quite a few in the Wildwood lair, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite?
There was a couple. Well, I think last year didn't they buy the whole kit and caboodle off the wall, Dave? I think they did.
Bought a bunch of them. I don't know if they bought every one, but they bought a bunch of them. They're getting more too. And then last year we showed the Metro D guitar, the set necky thing.
Yeah.
You seem to like that one.
Yes.
The prices on those are really nice. I mean, considering
We tried to keep that down as much as possible because we didn't want it to make it a $4,000 guitar.
yeah,
Right.
And it's really easy to make it a $4,000 guitar. So
Yes. Indeed.
the price-
whether anyone believes that or not, there is a lot of work that goes into a set neck guitar like that.
Absolutely. Yep.
I can imagine. Yeah, when I saw the price, I was like,
Absatibuli.
that
Yeah,
is-
we'll be over there. I think I got my schedule from the Wildwood guys, and I know we're coming over to do our. Don't we come over there on Saturday morning, Dave? I think we.
I don't know. I don't know. You know what?
We'll be
You know
over.
what? Someone will tell me when, and I'll forget, and they'll have to tell me again. But yeah, generally it's before.
And then there will be.
Sometimes it's before the show opens. I think we might have had an
Exactly.
appointment. Yeah, like at 9 a.m. or something,
Exactly.
which is always fun. Let's play loud guitar at 9 a.m.
Yes, it's good.
Well,
for you.
not as bad as doing a presentation at Sweetwater at 7 a.m.
Well, there's those, right? The morning meetings.
The morning meetings. Those are always interesting. That early in the morning.
Yes.
I remember I took a guitar player once, and I go, 7 a.m. Huh? All right, make sure I got a bunch of coffee. Yeah, you're gonna be ripping
Exactly.
through a loud amp at 7 a.m.
And plus, they have that clock, and you can't go over. You has to be.
Oh yeah, that's always fun. The presentations at Sweetwater, the sales presentations to the staff, you have a clock in front of you, and it's ticking away, and you're trying to get through it. So the first time you first time you do it, you might run over, and the second group of presentations you make, then you're like misjudged completely and end early.
Right.
You're like, oh well, I tried. And then they rate you on your.
And then they rate you, exactly.
They rate you, and that's always
adjudicated.
very interesting. The funny thing, I remember the first time we did that, I found that interesting. Like, we got some, not the greatest marks the first time we did it, but the second group, we had great marks. We did the same thing. So I'm like going, how is this? Is it they just don't want to be there at 7 a.m.?
Yeah, it could be.
That could be. They're a little grumpy. That's funny. I didn't realize they rate you too.
Oh yeah, you're being adjudicated.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Like, in what way? Like, so you get
I
back
think on content, on use of time, on there's all this different criteria you're being assessed on.
Wow. Oh, there's a question, Dave, for the Mike No Mo.
I don't know. Sometime soon. That's the best answer I got.
Having some problems with it coming out, or
No, I just don't have the answer right this minute when that is happening. So, I mean, it's happening, and it's like, I just don't know when it's walking in, done, and ready to go. So I got to find out.
Okay. So SoftMind00 says, can you get Steve Stevens and CC DeVille in the amp room in the same time?
Can we not?
I say no. Yeah. I say let's
Can we get one of the best guitar players and one of the worst guitar players in the room at the same time?
Yeah, no, let's get Steve Stevens and just call it a day. Yeah. CC's got the worst tone ever. Sorry.
I know nothing.
That's right. I see nothing. I know nothing.
Hey, the Guitar Pit asks, Dave, can the Cali be ordered in a hardtail? Why, yes. In fact, I own one personally. So I know that for a fact. I have a hardtail Cali. It's actually with a vintage T neck, though. So it's all mixed up. It's very cool.
I remember the question. I don't remember who asked the question, but it was basically, Greg, can you tell us about your signature amp?
Well, it is a 210 combo, and it is EL80, EL34s, and I wanted to have a long pan reverb with the 3 controls, you know, like the old reverb tanks. So you got the dwell, the volume, and the tone. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to have harmonic vibrato from like the old Fender Brown era amps. So
wow, cool.
It has that on there. I love the clean sound on the Koch amps. I love the overdrive. I love how they kind of cascade. So you got the clean sound. You can have a clean sound with a boost, overdrive with a boost, and then a gain boost on top of that. But we changed it a little bit because I wanted to be able to just go into the first channel and crank it if I wanted, or be able to dirty it up a little bit at lower volumes. And so they added this OTS circuit to this output tube saturation. So there's a 0.5 watt power amp tube that you can overdrive and add line level to either channel. So I've got a clean sound. I go over to the lead sound. I can add the gain boost on top of that. And if I add the OTS sound on top of that, it sounds like it's a fuzz. So basically I go out to a gig with my guitar and a cord, and I plug into the amp, and I've got a 5-button foot switch that allows me to change channel, add the OD gain, the OTS, and turn the vibrato on and off and the reverb. And it's fantastic. And it's beautiful blue Tolex. It's 50 or 25 watts. And plus we have the same last name, Koch, which of course is the name that serves as an expectorant. If you say it, you get a little rattle in there. In the cold and flu season, you get rid of phlegm, which is, you know. But they were trying to ask me, like, well, what should we call it? It's your signature amp? I said, well, we have the same last name. Why don't we just call it the Greg? So we did. So it's the Greg Koch and there it is. But people will, of course, always say my name incorrectly. It never ends. I have this problem nonstop. You know, when I was in college, I went to school there at Stevens Point, and there was this gal that played violin that was there like 2 years before I was, and she had the same last name, and she pronounced it Koch, which is what it means in German anyway. But I was like, no, that's not the way my grandpa said it. But in that brief moment in time, if I would have just accepted the fact that that would have been the greatest marketing move ever and would have made my life so much easier if I would have just said, it's Koch. But instead, I had to say it's Koch and get a little spit in there. So now everyone calls me Cock, Cooch, Koch, Kalk, you know. And so I named my publishing company Rhymes with Chalk Music. And then I got people calling me Kalk. I'm like, you don't pronounce the L in chalk, for fuck's sake, yet. I got people calling me Kalk. So then when this record came out, Koch Marshall Trio, they're playing it on Sirius FM. One of the DJs gets a hold of me through Facebook and says, hey, you know, you might have heard we're enjoying your record and playing it quite a bit, but none of the DJs here can figure out how to say your last name. I said, well, I just say Rhymes with Chalk. And so I told my wife, you know, as I was writing them, I'm having to tell them how to pronounce my name. I said, I'm telling them it just rhymes with chalk. She goes, they're never going to get that. I was like, what do you mean they're not going to get that? That's what I've been using for years. It's what my publishing company. She goes, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to get it. I'm like, you're crazy. It's as plain as day. So like 2 weeks later, my old college roommate's out in Seattle, and he texts me. He's like, hey, I just heard you on Sirius XM. Sounded great. I said, yeah, it's kind of funny. They'd contacted me. They didn't know how to say my name. So I told them it rhymes with chalk. He goes, oh, that might explain why they called you the Chalk Marshall Trio.
Oh, my God.
There's literally, there's no escape from the name besmirchment. So anyway, the amp is great.
That's great.
Circling back, the amp is great. And the name
does it have an effects loop?
It does. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice.
And, but they're just starting to ship, and the price is reasonable. The map price in it, I believe, is $25.99. So for all of that, it's reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
Made in the Netherlands, so you can, you know, fly over to the Netherlands, get a little dope if that's your thing. Get an amp, go on the plane, and come home, or you can just wait to get it over here and buy it in Colorado. Get a little dope, and not that I'm condoning, you know, that kind of refreshment, but if that's your
legal.
bag,
it's legal.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
All right.
That's why I can't wait to come to California.
That's right.
Let's see. Yes, that was Chris who asked that question. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Let's see. I'm scrolling down here. How are you doing on time? Oh, because this could be a long question. You all right on time, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay. So Lawton Shiles says Kemper ? Is modeling the future. Love to get your input on that, Greg.
Well, it serves a function. I mean, certainly, it's not what I prefer to do. I mean, I like to, of course, you know, I suppose if you're touring with, you know, a band where you're a sideman and you're required to have no noise on stage and to get a bunch of different sounds as quickly as possible. And if you got a super anal musical director that wants everything exactly the same night after night, then I suppose there's an argument for that kind of thing. And everyone that I know that uses them says they sound great, but I would rather be kicked in the groin repeatedly than have to use such a rig. I would like to feel the power of my bell bottoms flapping with the unbridled power of rock music. I like to see people in the front. I got to tell you a story about volume. I just heard from somebody the other day that when we played a gig at NAMM, a good friend of ours who I didn't know the saboteur, she had to go to the bathroom and vomit because we were so loud. And you know what?
You were just happy after that, weren't you?
I thought that was the greatest thing I'd ever heard. You know what I mean? We were so loud, we made someone vomit. Can you do that with a Kemper? Well, maybe, but they're most likely to become incontinent. And that's not the same thing. You know, do you want people to poop or do you want them to vomit? I'm going to go with vomit every time. You know what I'm saying? Because it's much easier to clean up, and it's more of a humiliating commitment to our power.
And it's comical. It's kind of funny.
And the majesty of rock.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. Also, it doesn't, you know, there's an interaction between a guitar and an amp
Yes.
that happens, and volume, even reasonably loud volume. There's an interaction that happens, and you just don't get it out of a modeler. It doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Like a flat line. There's not, you know, don't I. It's funny. I heard Neil Sean at a rehearsal playing through his modeling, you know, his fractal rig, and in between he was just messing around playing some blues licks and stuff. It doesn't matter if it was on 10 or rolled off on the guitar, it all just sounded flat.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, there's no digging in. There's no digging in and making it speak, you know, and you know, and also there's generally no feedback either. You know, feedback's cool. What's more rock and roll than feedback, you know?
Well, I will say that years ago when I did the Fender thing when they had that Cyber Twin, it was cool in the way that you could take, like, okay, I could take a Tweed Bassman and I can set it up kind of how I would with a Tweed Bassman. Then I can use a, you know, in a cyber environment, I could put together a reverb tank with it in front of it, or put a blackface reverb with a Tweed Bassman, then add a vibraphone with it. So there was this convenience of being able to add all this different stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would get it to sound really good. And you could even get some of the stuff to react in terms of volume control and all that kind of stuff. But then one day I set it up next to my Super Reverb and I went, oh.
Yeah.
And it's cool as long as you don't like play it next to the real thing. And then you are reminded of
I've had so many people like have, you know, like they played one of my models in a fractal or something, and that's what they use, and then they come in the shop here and play through the real thing, and then they kind of turn around and look at you and go, oh,
right,
yeah.
I get it.
Even A beat it before, you know, like, oh,
right,
feels different, doesn't it?
It's like bum 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 bum.
Yeah, I agree. Jim Becker.
I feel that way about just to add to that. I feel that way about most stuff that isn't analog, you know. Right. You know, it's just like even your MP3 off your computer sounds okay, you know.
Right.
But go put on the vinyl of it and on a nice turntable, even not the greatest turntable, anything, and listen to it. And you're just like, oh man, that sounds good. And so I was at in Detroit. Steve Stevens and I took a tour of Third Man Records, the pressing plant that they're doing. Jack White's vinyl pressing plant. It's very, very, very impressive to check it out. And they have a mastering studio in there also, you know, with some great gear. But they do. You can go there and play, and cut direct to disc. You can do it direct to vinyl acetate or whatever recording, because they have this old Neumann machine that does it, and that. I'm like, and the engineers are like, man, you know, if you think like old recording tape sounded great, like old tape machine playing back, you know, stuff in the old days that you used to do, it sounded great. He goes, direct, straight, printed right to it, sounds better and with no noise.
Oh,
there's no hiss, no background hiss or anything. So he goes, it's incredible. Those guys were really super cool, and that was a very impressive thing that Jack White is giving back really to people on trying to make these high quality vinyl again. And they take it seriously there. There's a guy there listening. You know, they take a record out of the pile every so often, and they're listening to it, actually physically listening to the whole record, just checking it, quality assurance and stuff. And then there's more guys that are visual checking if the label's straight, everything, you know. I'm just like, oh, wow, this is fantastic. And
That's
there's new
glorious.
machines that didn't exist that got made, that are made by this one company now. It's very specialized machines that they've purchased, and they have some of the older machines also there that are making the vinyl. And it was pretty elaborate. It's cool. It was great.
I love vinyl. Vinyl is the only way to roll.
I am back into it for my 50th birthday. My wife got me a player, and I've been getting vinyl, going to different shops, and
That's half the fun, right?
yeah, it's awesome. I picked up
Yes.
a bunch of stuff,
Totally.
cheap, like cheap albums, $5, $3.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
if you hold out, and you know, I bet Yes, Fragile.
You know,
Oh,
you can
yes.
get into it deeper. Like a friend of mine that's really deep into the vinyl says, he goes, you know, that where the actual album was pressed, like, was it pressed in the US, or was it pressed in the UK, or was it pressed in Japan?
Mm.
They all sound different.
Interesting. Well, I know that when I used to collect Beatle albums, right? So I know that the original EMI recordings, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's some interesting reason trivia that he told me about that. He goes, so if you're a UK band and you were going to release an album in the States, right? So your albums had to be made off the master tapes, right? So you don't really feel good about sending your only master tape to the US. So they'd make a copy of it. So it's already one generation off the original. And then that would be sent, and then that would be so in other words, he was saying a lot of times that if it's a UK band, you want a UK pressing. Or if it was a US band, you wanted a US pressing, and he goes, you never get a Japanese one. Ever.
Interesting.
Because evidently that just wasn't good. I don't know enough about it to really elaborate on this more, but boy, he was going into depth, and I'm like, really?
I had no idea.
Yeah, and then he was talking about needles and stuff and how much different those sound, and I'm oh boy, that's going down a rabbit hole now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I picked up. I actually have to drop off. I picked up a Ozzy Osbourne Diver Madman picture disc.
I remember those.
Yeah, it was just sitting right up there on the wall as I was checking out with a couple of the other cheap albums. It was like $20. I was like, you know what? It's Diver Madman picture disc. Throw it on. So he gave it to me, but unfortunately it skipped, and I cleaned the everything up, and it still skipped. So I called him up today. I said I'm going to have to bring it back, unfortunately.
But at that point, it's a picture disc. Just keep it.
Exactly. Put it on the wall.
It's the picture.
No. I'll get a picture disc of something else. Just if it skips, I can't live with it if it skips. Unless it was $5. If it was $5 and it skips, okay, I can live with it then.
Yeah, just don't play that song.
No, actually, it was like, you know what it was? It was like right in the middle of like the like great solos and stuff like that. I was just like, come on, like right in the middle, like the whole verse and everything would be great, and then it goes into the Randy solos and it's skipping. I'm like, you can't do that.
Unacceptable.
Exactly. All right, so I know that there was a question, I think, back about the pickups. When the pickups are going to be available, Dave?
They're going to be kind of floating out this month. Kind of a soft release, but this month.
Okay. Alpesh Patel, right back at you, douchebag. Sorry about that, but I had to say that. Let's see. I have a bunch of VH vinyls. Yeah, Vinny Moretti. I picked up a few, but I still need a couple more. Japanese pressing is lack bass.
Yes, that even what he was saying.
Huh. Interesting.
And so there was another interesting trivia about. Do you remember the old Van Halen vinyls, and they were so short?
Mm-hmm.
The album length was like 30 minutes or something, so it was like 15 minutes a side or something like that. The reason that was done was they wanted the albums to sound louder. So apparently how the song is spaced on the side of a record, and how far the grooves are apart, will get sort of more dynamic range and be louder.
Huh.
Or they could print it louder onto the vinyl if the grooves aren't closer together. It's sort of like the same concept of like having a 2-inch machine and putting an 8-track head stack on it, like a 24-track machine, but putting an 8-track head stack on it, so it's you got more more tape per track.
That's interesting.
I found an interesting tidbit. Yeah.
Daniel Judge says, "What about the Friedman speakers and cabs?"
The speakers. I'm doing one final listening test on the speakers, and as for offering new cabs, I might have rethought that a little bit. So soon. I wanted to do one last test, and I don't have time until I get back in 2 weeks to do it. So I wanted to do one last test just to make sure that I wasn't crazy. Okay. Sometimes you live with things, you start second guessing yourself.
Yeah. If you sit on it too long.
Yeah, if you sit on it too long, it's like, yeah, is that really that great?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. John McDonald asked, Mark, where's your Metroplex? I sold the Metroplex. Cool amp, but it wasn't for me. Vinny Moretti, what speakers do you guys like with your record players? Well, I just happen to use what speakers I already have, which is my Bose that I use in my living room. So
I have a pair of old studio monitors I use, Tannoy PBM 8s that I use with an old receiver. I got a couple old receivers. So I like them. They work well for this application.
I just have a cheap old Caliphone from St. Rita's of somewhere that I use in my. It's all encased. One of those old ones you would have had in your classroom as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I love listening to shit on that. So I do have a nice receiver upstairs and nicer speakers. I don't know what the hell they are. They're old. They sound good.
But you're a vinyl guy.
I do like to listen to vinyl. Yes.
Yeah, there's a big difference. There really is. I don't care what anybody says. Try turning up an MP3 really loud, and then turn up a vinyl.
Right.
Big difference.
Yeah, big difference.
Well, just the pacing of in the digesting of the music is different, and just the whole experience it's much different.
Yeah.
Not to sound like an old curmudgeon, but it's just different. How many times you buy a CD that's got 14, 15 tunes on it, and you seldom listen to those last songs. You listen to the first couple ones or whatever the case may be. But on a record, it's like, you got a shorter time period. You got those increments of each side. It's easier to digest, yada, yada, yada. It's just the way to roll.
I agree. I agree. It's good stuff. Charles G. Guitar says, Greg, what picks and strings do you prefer?
Free ones. No, I use these Primetone 3 Jim Dunlap 1.4 millimeter jobbers. Can you see that? Yeah, those are rocking. I use Diodario NYXL 10 through 46.
Oh, the expensive ones.
Yeah, those sound good. I mean, they seem to stay in tune a little bit better from the get-go and last a little bit longer.
I use them too.
So
I use
I
knives.
dig
And
those.
they bend a little further too. Seemingly.
They do indeed. Well, years ago when I was doing the Fender thing, I would get Fender strings, and then when I would run out, I'd always buy Diodario. So then I thought, wouldn't it be nice just to get a Diodario deal? And then I got one, so life is good.
There you go.
Yeah, well, that's good.
I use their slides as well. They have a like Coracedon bottle-y thing, so I get all those through Diodario as well. So
Very nice.
I like it.
I had no idea. I just got a Steinberger. Dave, my wife got me a Steinberger. Yeah.
Wow.
Because when I was at that EVH Con thing, a buddy of mine brought his Steinberger. It's like, the 5150 Steinberger, Eddie Van Halen one.
Yeah.
With the trans trem and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he had that, and I had a picture of me with it. And April said, "Well, that thing would be great for you to travel when you're on the road." I was like, "Yeah, it sure as hell would be." And next thing I know, she got it for me. So,
oh, bless her.
Yes, she's a great woman. Cool guitar, but I did not know Diodario actually makes strings for it. I found online they do the double ball strings. No, had no clue. Not that I had ever played a Steinberger before. So, other question for Greg: if you had to pick up one tweed Fender, what would it be?
A Bassman, like a 59.
I'll agree with that.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I've never played through one. I only had a tweed Champ, which was freaking amazing at the time, but I kill myself for selling it. It's so stupid.
I had a tweed Champ that my college girlfriend gave me, and it sounded glorious. But then we broke up, and I was convinced it was cursed because all this horrible stuff kept on happening to me. One was I was skinny dipping and got bitten in the balls by a fish. That happens every day. And then certainly after that, illness, and I got rash from head. All these horrible things started happening to me. So I sold that amp, even though it was glorious. But let's just say I haven't been bitten in the groin by a fish since. So it was
that's good.
Probably the right move to make. But the amp sounded great. Short answer: Tweed Twin good, or Tweed Champ was good, but seemed to be a magnet for vicious fauna to feast on my undercarriage.
Wow.
Stu Mack says, thoughts on the 5F10 Harvard. I've never played through one.
That was not generally the most sought after tweed amp. I think generally speaking, you would find people say the Tweed Bassman or high power Tweed Twin.
Yes, that was the other one,
which is a great one, or a Tweed Deluxe.
Yes,
and I would say that the maybe the Bassman and the Tweed Deluxe were more. Well, actually, the high power Tweed Twin is pretty much a 410 Bassman. It's just minus the speakers, different speakers.
So Steve from Boston says a fish in the groin can ruin your whole day.
It can, unless you're into that kind of thing, and then just show up at the group grope.
Well, you're going to show up to the group grope anyway, so regardless of the fish. Sean Tubbs says Tweed Twin for me. That's debatable. Yeah, the twin.
High power Tweed Twin is awesome. Well, you know what it is. It's pretty much the Tweed Bassman circuit for the most part, which is then later became the Marshall, so to speak. So it's
right.
It's got more of that lineage.
I see.
Marshall copied them, so
true that.
Mm-hmm.
The Guitar Guru Network, Keith, what's going on, buddy? If anyone's looking for a sick new Metro D guitar, check out the Guitar Guru Network's Reverb Star. You've got those in stock?
Yeah, he's got at least one.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah, those look really nice. I've got a Cali coming soon, one of these days.
Dave, is flat lamp type wire better as a speaker cable?
No.
Well, okay, look. I'm not going to say no. All speaker cables sound different. So, does it? Maybe. Depends on the flat wire you have. So, there's that. Oh, here we got another one from Andy Pessa. Let's see. Obviously, using the same ohm and
I think I think he means mindful of wattage.
Is it a bad idea to use 4 different speakers in a 4x12? No, you can do it. In fact, I know a lot of people that have done that in the studio, where they have, the cabinets wired the same. If all the speakers are the same impedance, it's kind of the same thing. As a whole, it potentially could sound odd, but as a close mic speaker in the studio, not really. You can pick your speaker of doom.
Pick your poison.
Pick your group grope.
Indeed.
That would truly be a group grope, wouldn't it?
It would be.
That would be, yes. Yeah, I mean, well, in the cabinet that I have from you, Dave, I mean, and I think this is standard. You've got vintage 30s on one on the bottom, and then doesn't it also have greenbacks on top, right?
Vintage 30s on the bottom, greenbacks on top.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Same idea. You're just putting more speakers in.
Yep. Okay. And Andy, thank you very much for that question and contribution. Any favorite up-and-coming or little-known bands, guitar players? Well, Sammy Bowler.
Sammy Bowler. Wait till he releases that solo record.
Yeah, check out Sammy.
Monstrous.
Who are you into, Greg? Anybody that you're checking out that's new?
Oh, you know what? I mostly listen to old dead guys. I hate to say it, but there are most of the guys that are on Instagram that people are checking out. That Mateus Asado guy is unbelievable.
He is amazing. Yeah,
I do enjoy listening to his stuff. I like my buddy Mark Lettieri that plays in Snarky Puppy. He's fabulous. Isaiah Sharkey's great. Joey Landreth, Ariel Posen plays great. My buddy Jared James Nichols, who's an old buddy of mine from here, used to play in a band with my son, actually.
He's awesome.
And,
he's in a band with your son?
Yeah, they used to rehearse in my basement. He used to come out and see the band all the time.
Wow.
And let's see who else we got. A young kid up in Minneapolis named Dylan Salfer, who plays great. Andy Wood is magnificent. The usual suspects.
Yeah.
Andy Wood is awesome.
Guitar, plectrum wielding, prestidigitate. Austin Crum is great, magnificent young player. And so there's all kinds of good ones.
Yeah. Who's also really good? Larry Basillo, the girl Larry. I don't know how you pronounce her first name, but she's a Sir artist. Really great player. Also, she's from Brazil, but she's got a little bit of the Latin thing going on, but really great playing. I know I'm not pronouncing her name correctly. Waterford Giant, thank you for the contribution.
Yes, thank you very much.
Dan of New Jersey says, which Steinberger do you use? Which Steinberg do you use? I have a UR22MK2, which I use.
He's talking about the guitar.
Is he?
No.
Okay.
He's talking about the interfaces. And we're talking about the guitar.
Yes. We're talking about two different things.
Yep.
All right, so there's a discussion about monster cable.
Yeah, whatever.
We're back to the group again.
Yes, people want you to comment on monster cable. Does it live up to the hype?
No,
Yeah, no.
it's just another cable. I mean, it's all cable sounds different. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So you have to determine what your favorite sounding cable is, if you're even that into it.
Contact Vinny Moretti.
That's right. Vinny Moretti makes some nice cable.
He does. Contact him. Wolfgang's new record is going to kill. Wolfgang Van Halen. I'd like to hear that. I am curious to hear it. I really am. Have you heard any of it, Dave?
No, not other than the clip that was kind of thrown out there.
Yeah, that 10-second clip that he had. Whatever it was. Yeah. I am interested to hear it because not only is he playing all the instruments, but supposedly he's singing on it also.
Yeah, I think he just did everything. Yep.
Yep. Did you hear about that, Greg?
No.
Yeah, Wolfgang Van Halen has an album coming soon, but I've been hearing that for 2 years now.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Maybe there'll be some news from Van Halen, and we'll hear. I was hoping this year for the 40th anniversary, but.
So I was thinking that I think we got most of the questions. I was kind of thinking I'm not all here today still. I was kind of thinking of not going on for 5 hours tonight, and
no, and maybe cutting it short, and I will probably be asleep within 5 minutes of us shutting off these devices.
Yes,
okay.
I understand. I think we did a pretty good run here.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we covered most people's questions.
You ever work with Eric Johnson? Metal Madness wants to know. Dave,
have I?
Me
or Dave?
Either one of you guys.
I have not.
Okay.
I gigged with them. Roscoe Beck's CD party, CD release party. I played, and Eric played as well. We did a couple different tunes together, and then we jammed at a Sweetwater thing year before last. That was fun. But I used to see him all the time at Fender events, just as nice as pie. He's as nice as they come, and of course, he's a monster. So
a monster player, yeah,
a legendary cat, and a very nice fella.
Groups of five.
Someone said we should have Lee Jackson on our show, and we've been trying.
Yes.
So
we're going to keep working. The next guest is December 2nd. Because we've got we might have a guest in between that, but Dave's going and hitting the road, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm gone till the 19th of November. So
right. So December 3rd actually is Robert Keeley.
Oh, excellent.
Yay, that'll be fun.
Yeah, Robert's a great dude. So looking forward to having him on. We may have a show before then, may not, because of your travels and my travels and so forth. So, but Greg, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. A pleasure.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. And for everybody viewing the show, thank you. We still have 213 viewers.
Wow.
Yeah, we were close to awesome. Like 300 at one point. It was pretty high.
Thanks to everyone who also contributed. That was really nice. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And I think that's all.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I guess next time I will see you in person will be at the January NAMM festivities.
At the group grope.
At the group grope.
Yes. And
maybe NAMM should just be called the group grope. Now.
I think it should.
I think that might be the more appropriate name for it.
Exactly.
That's great. Greg, any places where you're going to be playing soon you want to promote, tell people anything like that?
You know what? All the details can be found at gregkoch.com, GregKoch.com. All my information is on there, and certainly they can go to Greg Koch Music on Instagram and Greg Koch Music on Facebook and at Mansquatch on Twitter.
Man, Squatch. That's excellent.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Greg, you're awesome for coming on. Dave, have a great night. You guys hang one second as I hang up the call, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Later.
All right. Hit the subscribe button. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Okay. All right, guys. Take care.